And the reason is because my last live did not post. So I thought, okay, I have a few more minutes. I could try this again. I wanted to talk again. I probably won't go into as much detail as I did with the last live. I wanted to discuss spiritual awakening and what that has meant to me, and maybe simplify the concept for those of you who might be wondering, am I going through a spiritual awakening, or should I be feeling certain things, or what is this all about? There's also people that talk about woke community, and some of them talk about it positively and some of them talk about it negatively, and I don't know, there's just so many different things to understand. But I just wanted to explain what going through an awakening for me has been and what it means. And so years ago, I read a book by Anita Morjani, and it's called Dying to Be Me. And it's a near-death experience. It was the first near-death experience that I had written. And it was very pivotal in helping me to exit a religion that I had been in for almost 18 years and been very dedicated to, and had a really strong belief for so many years that it was the truth, the way, the life, the way to heaven, the way to be right with God, the way you're supposed to live your life, all of it. And her near-death experience, and I just, along with some other things that I read and came across, helped me to leave this religion. And when I left, before I ever got there, I felt like I had had an awakening prior to going in, that this was the truth, was something that I had been looking for. And it felt like such an awakening and a light going on off inside of my soul. And so Anita Murjani described being on the other side as in this life, we live in this huge, massive warehouse that is full of things from all over the world. And yet it's pitch dark, and we're each given like this flashlight to go through the warehouse in. And sorry, I'm gonna see. Hi. Hi, Edame. Thank you for joining me. I'm hoping I can get this live up correctly, because I already did this just a little bit ago, and then when I went to turn it off and put it up, it just wasn't there. So hopefully this will work this time. Anyhow, so it's like going through this warehouse. Life is like that. We're in this dark warehouse with this flashlight. And the awakenings that we have, each one throughout our life, is like we're shining the flashlight on a different area of life, or we're climbing stairs, or the light is getting a little bit bigger and we're seeing a little bit more than what we saw before. But what it is ultimately is that we are light and love when we come into this world. And if you think of a baby, when a baby comes into this world, it's usually super happy for the most part, unless it doesn't feel good, it's uncomfortable, it needs to be fed, it gets hurt, it gets sick, those different things that might not be comfortable for it, right? Maybe uncomfortable or painful, can cause it to cry. But otherwise, a baby is naturally happy. We are naturally at our core happy people. We're naturally happy. Their auras shine. We are naturally light, and we're naturally loved. They're very affectionate. They take to love very easily. They're very forgiving, little children. And it's not until they start to get conditioned by this world that changes. So we are love and light when we come into this world. And we have all this knowledge in our oversoul, in our higher self. And the reason I bring up that near-death experience from Anita Morjani is because I have come to understand so many of these concepts by listening to near-death experiences, kind of rooting myself into some truths that I already knew deep down in my heart, but they kind of confirmed it for me. And so for me, that awakening happens over and over again. It's not just something that you just become awakened and then you're awakened for the rest of your life. If you're just awakened to a certain level for the rest of your life, then what all that means is that you've ceased to shine the light, your flashlight, in a new area. You've become rigid, or you've become stuck in one area of understanding, which is what I was for so many years when I was in religion. I became stuck in this understanding that it was the only path, this was the truth, the only way, the truth, the light. And when that understanding was broken within me, it was like a spell was broken inside of me. And I literally felt dissociated for approximately a month at least, where I felt just like, it's like my whole reality crumbled out from underneath my feet and I had no bearing, nothing. I just didn't, I was like so in awe, but it was very clear to me the way it came to me and the way the light went on inside of me, that wasn't true, that wasn't the only truth out there, that there was so much more to this picture than what I had really understood. And I had kind of clung into a religion, which I think a lot of people do, because it makes you feel safe. And I had been raised in a very religious background, which this religion I was in was not anything, was not associated with that. But my dad was an alcoholic and he was very abusive and he was a polygamist, and I had a very chaotic childhood and very, very emotionally, so much emotional neglect. Like I had nothing that gave me a reason just to be happy in my childhood, or to trust life, or to trust myself, or to trust anybody in this life. And so religion gave me some kind of an anchor to hold on to. Well, if I can't hold on to anything in this world, I can hold on to something that's possibly outside this world, that's bigger, and that once I leave this world, I'm going to be there and everything's going to be okay. And so that whole idea gave me a sense of safety. But then I started to learn, I went to therapy later in life, and I started to learn how to trust myself, how to trust my own perceptions, and how to love myself. That was what I taught early on this channel, was self-love, because I had so much self-loathing from what I'd been through for so many years, and I was so insecure and felt so inferior to everybody. And I was such a people pleaser and just wanting to, and I also felt like I was responsible to make people happy. I felt really burdened if anybody, and I still deal with that aspect of it sometimes, where I feel like I need to make everybody feel better. If they're not feeling good or something's wrong in the world, it's my duty to hop in there and take care of it. So the awakening was not my first awakening. My who knows when the first awakening in my life was. But we go through a series of awakenings throughout our life, and they're like that flashlight. They're stepping stones. They kind of lead you, that you can only see so far with the flashlight, and then you go further into the dark warehouse with the flashlight, and then you see the next step. And that's what awakenings are. They're these periods of time where what was once dark to you suddenly becomes enlightened, and you'd never seen that before. It's a brand new way of seeing things, and it makes everything that you'd already seen, it makes it either appear clearer, or it makes you realize you didn't see it the way it truly was, that you saw it, you didn't see the full picture of it. And so your paradigm shifts, and sometimes you can feel very elated. When I went into the church, and I had found something I had been looking for. So it was like I was in the warehouse and I was looking for a church that was teaching the Bible. And so when I found this church, I thought I had found everything. I thought I was seeing the whole warehouse at that point. And so I was elated then. But then when I left, I felt like the ground had crumbled out from underneath me. It was a whole different feeling. It was very fearful to leave. It took a lot of courage for me to leave, and especially when I had been so passionately involved in it. So it took a lot of courage for me to walk out of a place that had conditioned me to believe that if I leave, I'd go to hell and burn in hell forever, and that I was going to be 7 times worse than I ever was before I came there, and all those things. It took a while, and one of the biggest things that helped me was listening to near-death experiences, because there's so much across all cultures and across countries and across the world. There's so much similarities, and the biggest similarity is that there's love on the other side. And they all talk about including Anita Morjani, and that's spelled Moorjani. If you've never heard of her, I suggest you look her up on YouTube. She's incredible. Her story is incredible. But the love that they describe, that they feel, they say they just never felt such a love. Like they don't remember ever feeling love like that here. It's like in every fiber of your being, and the connection. And that's something that I felt like Spirit was showing me when I left, is that I had lost my whole family, basically the family that I'd known for 18 years, that I'd come, they don't leave with you. You leave them. And so I'd lost my connections in this world. And at that time, Spirit showed me that the connections that we have on the other side are way more than the most intimate connection you can have here with anybody. Because we're intertwined, we feel as one mind, as one soul. There is completely different, and it's completely safe. And when you tap in to awakening, it is just allowing yourself to trust yourself. That's your first step to awakening, is that I'm going to trust what my inner guidance is showing me. I'm going to trust the things that are coming into my mind as my inner guidance teaching me something, especially when it makes sense to me. When I first started asking Spirit to help me hear God's voice above all other voices, because so many people claim to have the voice of God, right? Claim to be speaking in lieu of God, right? And I started asking, please help me to hear your voice above all others. And this one voice inside of me, and I wrote a book called The Voice of God Within that's on Amazon. And, but this one voice inside of me started to stand out. And then I would listen to it and I'd follow it. And it was just on point. I mean, to almost just eerily on point. There were times when I was so distraught because I was going through a major healing at the time from my past, from my abuse. And there would be times that I was so broken and distraught from just working through things that I couldn't think clearly. And I would hear that voice. And sometimes it would tell me like what to do next. Like I'd be out and about trying to get things done. It would say, now go to this store, just go over there, turn down this lane. And then I'd go and everything would be right there. And it was just like so clear, such a clear. Now I don't always hear it that clear. If I really tune and ask for it, I do. But we don't always tune in that way. But when you ask God or your higher self or the higher being, however you look at it, to help you hear that higher self, that higher voice, and make it clear so that you can discern it. That voice is faithful. And I realized I have a whole family on the other side. And there's nothing in this world that can make me feel lonely, because on the other side, or right, when I say the other side, it's not really like they're over there. They're right here. It's just that there's a veil there, and it's the veil of remembrance. Because here, in order to be immersed into this life, we have to have some of that memory taken back. And near-death experiencers tell you about that. They tell you about how even sometimes they say, I want to remember everything. And on the other side, they say, you can't take everything, but we'll give you this part to remember, to help you for where you're at when they come back, right? Because it takes away from what we are doing here, and that is expanding. And so the other part of awakening is we have all this knowledge inside of us. So why do we come here to and not have it? And that is because it gives us depth, because we get the shadow here. And so an artist, when they paint a picture, shadow is very important in order to give depth to their art. And it's important for us to be able to walk through the land of shadow in order to have depth to what we already have, in order to understand. Because if you only ever have light, just think of it this way: people that you've thought of, oh, they, born with a silver spoon in their mouth and they've never had hardships, right? You think, oh, they're never going to get what I'm going through because they've never had to suffer what like I've suffered, right? You might think something like that. It's kind of the same concept. It's like there's only things that you're going to learn and understand when you've experienced the opposite of it. So you're not going to understand the depth of light that you have and understanding that you have until you've actually walked through the resistance and the opposite of it. And then you get a depth to it. You get substance. It becomes more visceral, what I say, or palpable to your soul when you've gone through that. So you've come here deliberately by choice we've come here, all of us, by choice to experience certain things. And believe me, I know I sit here and think, sometimes I've thought this, what did I sign up for? I'm never doing this again. I've been through things where I've just thought, no way, that just pisses me off sometimes to even hear that. But, but at the same time, it's a comfort too. It's a comfort and a strength to understand that. So an awakening is the realization. It's every time new light comes into your soul where all of a sudden you're seeing things from on a different paradigm. That is an awakening. And people that are in religion have had certain awakenings, but they're on a certain stepping stone. And sometimes they've got that flashlight in there and there's like this room, and then around it seems so dark and they feel fearful for whatever reason. And so they stay in that little place, and they don't, and where other people might be moving and seeing other aspects of it. But these people, no, I don't see that. I don't see, because they don't want to move their flashlight over there because they feel safe here in what they understand. And they feel too fearful to move on. It takes courage to go through awakening. But it is so beautiful at the same time, because it puts the adventure back in life. It puts the color back in life. It gets you out of black and white thinking. It puts the passion back in life. It's like little kids, and they come here in life and they're so excited to be here because everything's new to them. And that's what happens with an awakening is everything becomes new again to you and fresh. And so it's healthy to be awakened and to learn and to grow in that way. Let me just look here at my notes and see. I would like to know if any of you, I personally would like to know if any of you feel like you've experienced an awakening, if any of this resonates with you. Also, if you have listened to near-death experiences or had any. Now, I had an experience one time, and sometimes I want to ask my doctor if I died on the table or something, but I feel like they would tell me, because I remember after my surgery, it was when I had my hysterectomy, and I was under the knife for 6 hours for that. And I know there were some people praying for me, but I always say I had an angel visit, and my husband always remembers me coming out of that with a big smile. He said, I've never seen anybody coming out smiling so big from surgery as you. And it was because I had been visited by angels. And the reason I thought, oh, it could have been a near-death experience, and I don't remember all of it. Maybe I was told I can't remember all of it. Because I remember the doctor that had done the surgery, I remember giving me like a hug, and just kind of this feeling of deep compassion toward me that felt like, I don't know, I can't even explain it. But I thought maybe something happened and she knew it, or, that was my dog. He was bugging me. He's all licking. He's okay. But anyways, I was visited by angels, and I was during a time in my life where it was right after I had left that religion, and so I'd lost my my family, and there was just a lot going on, and I was still in a lot of fear, about what I had done. Although I knew I'd done what I knew, I didn't make that decision lightly. I knew it was time, and I had gone through an awakening, but it was really, really rough. And these angels, they were like cherubs, like children. They had wings. They And they were like, they kind of remind me, the scene, if you've ever seen Lord of the Rings at the very end, when they go in to see Frodo and they get up on the bed and they're jumping with him and they're so happy. That's how the joy felt with these angels. It was that level of joy. And they were trying to activate that joy in me again, saying, quit taking life so seriously. Come on. Like, I knew that all along. Like, come on, wake up to your joy again. What's going on? But they were intelligent. It wasn't like they were children. They were very intelligent, but they were childlike in their joy and in their love. And so I had that experience myself. And I was told at that time, because this particular religion I was in would teach that God does not hear prayers if you're a sinner, if you sin, if you do things against God or whatever, he won't hear your prayers. And they get something out of the Bible to back that up or whatever, but they were telling me that they were very grieved about that message going out, and that wasn't true, and that it was a grieving thing because it kept people from, especially people that may be like in sin, or sin is just missing the mark. It's just you're in a condition where you're not aligned with that love and light inside yourself, and so it's pulling you further away into negativity. And anyways, that's a whole nother thing. But that God is within us, and that the whole message of Christ, or any religion or any real spiritual teaching, is for that realignment. It's for that realignment. And if prayer gets us there, then we don't want something coming along and saying, don't do that, if that's what does it for us, or if that's what would help us to anchor in to that, right? Something coming along and saying, no, that won't help you, could sever a person's ability to be able to be awakened and to be able to find that joy again, right? So without feeling like I'm going all over the place, I hope I've simplified this for you, because I feel like a lot of people are awakening and don't even realize it. And one of the things I find that's so confusing is there's so many things out there about what it means to awaken, or what you should be feeling and going through, and ascension, and am I in 3D or 4D or 5D, or all that. I'm sure if you get your flashlight in certain places, we could understand all those pieces. But the simplicity of awakening is that we are just simply, we have that flashlight, and we have all that knowledge in us already. And if we learn to trust ourselves and learn to turn up the flashlight, or move beyond the little place that we're allowing our flashlight to stay in, move beyond that, get it up, put another bulb in it or whatever, and crank it up, we're awakening. Anytime you have your paradigm shifted, and you thought something was one way, and then you realize it's something else, you've had an awakening. Now, sometimes they feel negative, and sometimes they feel positive. Sometimes they bring a flood of joy, and sometimes they can feel like the rug has been ripped out from underneath you. But it's still an awakening. Awakening is also an awareness, and it can be an awareness of other people and what's really going on with them. It's an awareness of sometimes the egos that are playing certain games and in certain dances together. We can become very aware of our own ego and our own. So many times I've come to this place where all of a sudden I'm really aware of an egoic part of me that is in a dance, playing this dance and trying to manipulate the situation, like maybe for the attention or for the love that it gave me, right? And I wasn't really conscious of that. So the awakening is suddenly becoming very conscious of it and aware of it. And so being able to be okay with that and saying, oh, and like, okay, I see that. without going, oh my gosh, I can't see that because that means I'm bad and something's wrong with me. No, it just means that that's where we are. We were learning something in that dance and now we're seeing it. And and the only reason we're seeing it is because we're ready to transcend it. That's it. It's not because we're bad. We're just ready to transcend it. And so that's what it's for. It's for our growth and for our ascension and for us to have depth. But to trust yourself and to trust that you are love and light, and that maybe there's things that pull us away from love and light sometimes, but that doesn't mean that that's what we are. We are always love and light. And when we get back, the closer we get to that, the more awakened, the more light comes up out in our lives, the more awakened we become, the more we ascend, the more we evolve, and the better our life feels, the more we get in alignment with that love and light. And that comes from self-trust. And so in your awakening, when you are working on your awakening, always remember when you go to experience something, to trust yourself. And that self-trust comes from, how does something make you feel, right? If it pulls you away from that understanding and that confidence that says, I am love and light and I have all knowledge inside of me. If it disempowers you, if it makes you feel like you're a bad person, if it makes you feel like you have to look outside yourself to be led. You know what I'm saying? If it makes you feel icky, fearful, icky inside, then it's not in alignment. It's something that's pulling you away. So that you can pull yourself back in by taking your focus off of that. Take your flashlight off of that. Just say, you know what? I'm taking my focus off that. I want to put my focus on where I want to grow and where I want to align and be. And so when it feels like, when it resonates with you, you're going to feel peace. You're going to feel a calm come over you and an assurance come over you. That's a resonation and of where you're at right now. And everybody's in a different place. So there could be that we have billions of people in the world and they all have their own flashlight and they're in so many different places in that warehouse. So that's why some people might ascribe to one religion, some say I'm an atheist, and they're all seeing different things with their flashlight right now. That's all. And some of them have big egos and their flashlight hasn't shined any light on their ego to them yet. It may to other people, but to them it hasn't. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. That's just where their soul is right now, and they're evolving. We're all in different places evolving in this world. So I hope that simplifies awakening for you. I really want to talk more on this channel about these things that I'm learning and growing in my own spiritual walk and the healing that I go through, and maybe do more lives rather than videos, because I feel like waiting to do a video, I just wait forever. If I just get on here impromptu, I just do it, and then I have to edit them and it takes me forever, and I just haven't got around to it. My life hasn't been conducive to that right now. So anyways, thank you for joining me. Let's see, I see somebody subscribed. Do you have advice about butler? I don't know what that is. Butler. I'm sorry, I have no idea what that is. If you can put it in the comments again, maybe I can look at it. Let me see. Thank you. Happy New Year. Somebody's really loving on Satan. Like I said, everybody's got their flashlight in a different area. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to get off here, and hopefully I can get this closed out properly this time. But hopefully this has been helpful for you, and you guys have a great new year, and sending you off with blessings and love, and I'll talk to you more next time.